Hello, tropical fish keepers. Welcome to a special crossover edition of Story Time with Aqua Alex Cardinale. I combine my talk show, Story Time with Alex Cardinale, with Aqua Alex Live. I'm your host, monster fish hobbyist, and South American fish keeper, Aqua Alex Cardinale, coming at you with a very fun video today. Before we begin, I'd like to apologize for not broadcasting live in front of my 75-gallon display aquarium. I just did about a 75 to 85% water change about 10 minutes before I went on the air. So my fish are a little bit stressed. So I figured I'll save me doing a live stream in front of my fish tank for my next episode of Aqua Alex Live. So I want to thank everybody that is tuned in, whether you're watching this video live or you're catching the replay of today's video. Before I begin, I would like to ask a quick favor. Unfortunately, I can't post on Facebook for 6 days because someone got offended at a comment that I made about a professional wrestling event. So Facebook decided to ban me from posting anything on Facebook. And Facebook is what I use to get viewers and clicks on my YouTube link. If you guys enjoy any of my videos, with today's video being included, if you enjoy the video, please copy and paste the video URL on Facebook and other social media platforms so that other people can see this amazing video. And I'll allude to that a little bit more towards the end of today's video. And if you share today's video on your Facebook, I'll enter you in my prize giveaway, which is going to be for an $80 Texas Roadhouse gift card in my 8-year YouTube anniversary. So today's topic is going to be on funny aquarium stories, part 2. I did my first episode, I think it was the Sunday before Christmas. So go check out my first episode of Funny Aquarium Stories on Storytime with Aqua Alex. I discussed some pretty interesting stories, including how a local fish store owner accused me of stealing a silver arowana. I also discussed a fire eel ending up wrapped up in a Christmas tree and so many other awesome stories. You can check out those stories on my Aqua Alex Live playlist and also my Storytime with Alex Cardinale playlist right here on my YouTube channel, The Legendary Alex Cardinale. So today, along with all my wonderful fish keeping audience, we're going to continue talking about funny aquarium stories. So this question is for you, fish keepers, whether you're watching me live or you're catching the replay of today's video. Do you have any funny aquarium stories you want to share? If you do, post them in the comments and let us know. I definitely want to hear your funny aquarium stories. Now, if you're watching this video live, you can also come up here live on the video to discuss your favorite aquarium stories. To appear live to discuss your favorite aquarium stories, just click this link, which is in the YouTube chat, as well as the YouTube video description. And you'll be able to share your personal favorite aquarium stories. So I've got 6 aquarium stories that I'm going to share today, and all of them are very interesting. The last stories that I'm going to share happened just yesterday. So with that being said, let's get started. So the first story is from about 10 years ago, and it involves a armored catfish from South America and a black rom piranha from South America. The species of catfish is a Niger catfish, aka a ripsaw catfish. And for those of you that don't know what a ripsaw catfish looks like, here is a picture of a ripsaw catfish. Now, the Niger catfish is known for its sharp armor, which you can see along the body. That armor is really sharp and it can do a lot of damage to human skin as well as a lot of damage to a fish's mouth, and it'll break nets and other stuff. That armor is like the bottom of a razor sharp knife. You definitely don't want to get anywhere close to that. So, my dad and I were sharing a 150-gallon aquarium. I think this was back in 2010, 2011. It's definitely more than a decade. Anyways, I had some fish in there, and my dad told me last minute that he was going to be getting a piranha, and I needed to either rehome all of my fish or put them in my tank, which was a 75-gallon. So I had to do some running around, and I ended up trading a majority of my fish into the local fish store. And the reason I had to do that was most of those fish were too large for my 75-gallon. There were some peacock bass that were about a foot. There were some pacu that were about 10 inches, and a couple of other things. The only fish that I kept were my flat-tailed procelotus and some datnoids and my catfish, which were Raphael cats and Hacer oreasis catfish, which is a smaller armored catfish species. But the one catfish that I forgot to catch was this Niger catfish that was hiding in a piece of driftwood. And it was a solid 8-inch catfish, and the driftwood that was in the 150 was about 2 feet. So 2 feet versus 8 inches, that catfish is going to have a lot of hiding spots where you're not going to be able to see him. So anyway, I forgot about the Niger catfish. I forgot that he was still in the aquarium, and my dad got a piranha. I thought he was getting a shoal of piranhas, and I thought he was getting Pygrocentris species, but he ended up getting a black piranha or a black rhombus. And if you're not familiar with piranhas, they look like this. This is a black piranha or a black rhombus piranha. They're also known as Cerosomus rhombus. So the piranha that he got was about 6 to 7 inches, and he acclimated it to the aquarium, and everything was fine. And at nighttime, he turned the aquarium lights on, and lo and behold, the Niger cat came out of hiding, probably because he was wondering where all his tank mates were. He had some Raphael cats and an Irwini cat that were in the driftwood with him. And thinking back now, I often think, how did I miss the Niger cat? But the Irwini cat was always out in the open. I think the Irwini and Niger fought a little bit. So maybe that's how the Irwini was able to be caught with ease. And the Raphael cats, they came out when I put flake foods in the aquarium, so I was able to scoop them up. Anyways, if you think the fight between the Niger cat and the piranha ends up with the piranha winning, you're sadly mistaken. The Niger cat was the one that got the victory in the end. So, anyways, the Niger cat is swimming along the bottom of the aquarium, and the piranha sees him, the black rhombus sees him, and ignores him for about an hour or so. And then, when it was starting to get real dark out, around 9:10 p.m., I decided that I was going to turn the lights off and watch the fish just to make sure, because at that point, I thought the Niger cat was going to be okay, because I thought that piranha didn't see him. And I was kind of tired because I was in school at the time, and I didn't want to net the catfish out. And my dad was like, whatever happens to the catfish is on you. So anyways, I was on the computer, and I heard splashing, and like I saw the piranha racing around the top of the aquarium. So I quickly turned the aquarium lights on, and I saw that the Niger cat had a little wound, but it looked like that wound was nothing compared to the damage that happened to the Ceratosomus piranha. So the black piranha actually tried to bite down on that razor sharp armor on the Niger cat. And what ended up happening is the armor was so sharp that it damaged the rhombus's mouth. And the rhombus reacted by freaking out, panicking in the aquarium. So I decided that what I was going to do is quickly remove the Niger cat and put him in my 75-gallon aquarium. And I did that. And then I told my dad what happened. And he was super pissed off. But in the end, the Niger cat got the victory. And he will never be messed with again. So I kept that Niger cat for a lot longer than expected. He grew to about 13 inches in my 75-gallon aquarium. And after that, I ended up trading him to my local fish store. And they gave me like $100 for him, which I was really surprised because Niger cats in Massachusetts they were fairly common at that time, so I was really happy about that. And that's the story. So my dad was really pissed off at me. I had to actually give him whatever money he paid for that ROM back. I think it was like $200 or $300, and I was working at that time, so I had it. But at that time, that was my entire paycheck, so I was kind of upset. But luckily, my dad contacted the person where he bought that ROM from and got another one. And he gave this ROM to a buddy of his. And this ROM lived, but it's deformed looking and just not a visually appealing fish. And that's the fault of the piranha. The piranha should have just left the Niger cat alone, and he would have been fine. I don't know if that piranha is still living today. I do know that the person that got that piranha has passed away, so I'm not sure what happened, and that's the end of that story. So thinking back now, I think that Niger cats are one of the only fish that are forever safe from piranhas, unless the piranha attacks their stomach, which is rare even in the wild because Niger cats stay at the bottom, and they very rarely will go to the top where piranhas can attack them in the wild. The only case that I can think that could happen is if the fisherman hooks a piranha fishing. If the fisherman hooks a Niger cat fishing, then it's open game for the piranha. But other than that, the Niger cat is safe. So that's why Niger cats are fairly common, and they're regularly imported into the aquarium hobby. A lot of people like them because they're virtually indestructible thanks to that armor. So I figured that would be an interesting story to share on today's video, and certainly a fun one. All right, let's get to my next story. This one's a little bit more interesting. So this one goes back a long time. I was 9 years old at this time, and I'm 28 now. So that was many, many years ago. And when I was 9 years old, I had a 10-gallon aquarium, and I had a betta in that aquarium. It was a betta fish, a red betta, and it had a couple of Cory cats and a Pictus cat and some silver dollars. And I forgot to close the lid one day, and for some reason, my red betta decided to jump out of my aquarium. And I was at school, and I came home and I saw the betta on the floor, but it looked like it had been stepped on. It was all squished, and I knew there was nothing I could do to save him. So I asked my grandmother why my betta fish was on the floor and why it looked like it had been stepped on. I originally thought that it was maybe my dog. My dog maybe got into it, but I was shocked at what my grandmother said. She said that she was walking towards my bedroom to go into my parents' room to take care of the dog, and she didn't see the betta on the floor, and she stepped on it. So that betta had an ill fate because it decided it was going to jump out of the aquarium, and unbeknownst to it ended up getting killed, not by being out of water, but being trampled on by a human. So that was very, very sad. And my grandmother is a person that loves animals, and she was kind of traumatized. And I wasn't really that upset about it because growing up, I was not huge into bettas. I wasn't a huge betta guy. Someone gave me this betta as a birthday gift, so I decided I was going to keep it and raise it, and then it ended up jumping out, and that was that. And to this day, that was the only betta that I kept in the aquarium hobby. I've been given bettas over the years, and I've just either rehomed them or given them to other people. To me, they're a pretty cool fish. It's just that they can be kind of boring in the aquarium hobby, and I just don't have the time or the effort to look at a betta and have it be the only fish in an aquarium. But I do like bettas, and I'll do some videos talking about care for the bettas. When I think of bettas now compared to when I was 9 or 10, there are so many different variants out there. You've got the half moon bettas, long fin bettas, etc. They are still a pretty cool fish. Shout out to my friend and fellow fish keeping YouTuber, Big Tank Hank in the house. Hey, Big Tank Hank, how you doing, brother? Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're having a great week so far. I appreciate the love, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot to me. All right. So now we're going to get into my next two stories. And these stories revolve around one fish. And this fish is perhaps the prettiest fish in the freshwater hobby. And it's a fish that is considered to be the freshwater king, or one of the most majestic freshwater fish. And that is the Discus cichlid. A lot of people love Discus cichlids. I've only kept them once or twice, and I have to admit that I do like Discus. I have a lot of love and respect for Discus cichlids. But I haven't kept them for that long. The longest I've kept Discus for is about 9 months. So I don't really have much experience with Discus cichlids. But the next two stories are kind of ironic if you think about it. Next story I'm going to tell you is how I use Discus cichlids to get revenge. And then the story after that I'm going to tell you is how Discus cichlids drove me insane. So early last year, I think it was in the summer or fall of 2021, I did a episode of Story Time with Aqua Alex Cardinale, and it was exposing an old friend of mine that ran an aquarium business, and his name is Nate Marion. And if you haven't seen that episode, I highly recommend you check it out because you're going to learn all about this person. I thought he was a genuine fish keeper. I thought he was a genuine guy that had a love for the aquarium hobby. But it turns out he was using the aquarium hobbyist, taking their money to buy other stuff, and he just wasn't a genuine person. He was doing illegal things and taking advantage of people. So long story short, I don't want to tell this story again when you simply could just go on my YouTube playlist and watch the video in its entirety. I friended this guy back in 2010, and I bought an arowana from him, and that is when I met Nate Marion. He was running a fish store out of his basement called Massive Aggression, I think it was. And then we became friends over the next couple of years. He opened up some retail locations, and he specialized in wild-caught South American fish. I'll give credit where it's due. It was Nate Marion that brought me and my interest into South American fish and wild-caught fish. Because before that, I had a love for all tropical fish. It didn't really matter where they came from. I loved them all. and I still kind of do because I like datinoids, I like frontosia, but a majority of the fish that I love are from South America, and that is because of Nate Merian. He used to import some crazy stuff. He was the very first time I saw piranhas, wild caught Armatus piranha from Peru and Colombia. He was the first time that I saw vulture cats, uh, Hacer cats, the Hacer oriensis, some of the ripsaw cats, some of the more rarer, wild, fancy plecos, stingrays. I knew stingrays existed, mainly as a Matoro, but he brought in some of the more exciting wild caught specimens, and then of course panda waru and some of the other exotic South American fish. And that's where I found one of my dream fish, which you see on the screen above me, the black wolffish. Fast forward all these years, I now own my very own. And that black wolffish you're seeing next to my name is mine. That is my 5-inch black wolffish. I edited the photo to make it look as clear as possible. But yes, that is my black wolffish, just in case you're wondering. But anyways, after I friended him, he told me about a job that he thought would benefit me because I would gain experience working with customers in retail. He said I could be like a store employee or a store clerk and help out with his retail store on the local aspect. And by the local aspect, he meant that I would help with the customers that walked into his retail store because he also had an online business. So he was more focused on that. And I would help him with the retail along with my father and some other employees. So long story short, I ended up working for him for a month or so. And he promised my dad and I that he would take care of us financially, but it really never happened because we never got anything. If we got anything, it was canned raviolis, which are absolutely disgusting. That was an insult to me. And we also got like a $5 sun cat, if I remember correctly, and maybe a wild caught Peruvian fish that he got, which really didn't really cost him anything when you think about it, because when you import fish from South America, you're really importing them cheaply. The most expense is the shipping. The fish are pennies to quarters, depending on what the species is. I mean, some fish, like the black wolffish, can be pricey, but others, like a sevrum, a wild rock-heel sevrum, is really cheap compared to others. But anyway, I just got tired of working with this individual. And among other things, he would call me names and insult me because he used to get high all the time and he thought it would be funny. He called me names and stuff. So at the time, I just let it slide. And then I did research on him, and I found out that he wasn't well liked in the aquarium hobby because he had been robbing many aquarium hobbyists online. And he took advantage of so many people. He would tell these people that he had the fish in stock. He would take their money and he would never pay, or he would never send the fish or refund them. And then I started to question my alliance with him. And I was like, I got to get away from him somehow. So I stepped away for a while. But then again, I came back because he had some fish that I was interested in. I forgot what the final straw was, but he had made me really upset, and and he was closing his retail location, so he offered me some fish at a really good price, and some of those fish were wild caught red spot teefy green discus, wild caught Peruvian scalars, and brocious cory cats. So I think the final price he wanted was like $200, and I only had like $20 at the time, so I gave him $20, and I told him I'd pay him back next week. Well, after he pissed me off, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and block him and write this guy out of my life, and I'll never pay him the $180. That is how I'll get my final say. That is how I'll get my revenge for treating me like shit, making me work like a dog, and calling me names. So what I did is I robbed him of $180, just like he robbed so many other aquarium hobbyists. Looking back now, was that the right thing to do? Absolutely not, because he would send threatening messages to my parents and make up lies that are insane, stuff that I would never say because it could get me in serious trouble. Like, for example, he told my parents that I told them that he took a gun to my head or something like that. Something that you'd have to be really high to think of saying, because if I said that to anybody, they would have reported it and he would have got in trouble. So just a weird scenario. But in the end, I got my revenge. And those discus I ended up reselling to somebody else. And they had to treat those discus for parasites and whatnot because they were wild caught, and I did not know that at the time. So I gave them to someone that gave them a good home, and I told them where they came from, and that person was like going over a laundry list of reasons not to buy from that guy. But so that's how I use discus cichlids as a means of revenge. Years later, I liked discus and I started researching them, and I was more interested in the captive raised ones, but my other local fish store that I was very friendly with would bring in wild heckel discus and some of the other Brazil ones, and that sparked my interest again in discus. Steve's Aquatics in the house. Hey, Steve, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in, brother. Steve says, "Hi, Alex. You should tell us about some of your most famous fights that you've had online since you've been podcasting." Some of them are great, and the listeners and viewers would love hearing about. Oh, God. Yeah, that would definitely be an episode in its own. Um, there's a quote that one of my best friends said about me, and he said, "You know, Alex Cardinale, you have a way of pissing off people." And I think it's true. I've been pissing off people since before I knew pissing off people was possible. So I think it's fair to say that I've been pissing off people since 1993. But yes, that is a topic I'll consider for my 8-year YouTube anniversary. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And that the next story that I'm going to talk about kind of involves that, because this person was responsible for many fights that I had. So the next story about discus is how discus cichlids drove me insane because of an older gentleman fish keeper who happened to love discus cichlids. So let me tell you a backstory about this. I don't really remember how I met this man. I think a podcast listener knew about him and he messaged me and said, "Hey, Alex, you might want to have this guy on your podcast. He's very passionate about discus and he knows a lot about discus." What I should have thought of was, if he's so passionate about discus and so knowledgeable about discus, why haven't I heard about him? But I took that person's word and I reached out to him, and he was very interested in being on my audio podcast, and that's how we met. So his name on YouTube at the time, many years ago, was Hannah Pro Discus, also known as William T. Now, I have nothing against William T. He is a gentleman that I had a relationship with. And when I say relationship with, it's not anything sexual. It's just a friendship. That's all. But we were friends on and off for many years. One thing I will say is that he kind of had an ego to him where it was extremely difficult to work with him because he had to do things his way. It was always his way or the highway. And oftentimes, anything I wanted to do had to be pushed to the side to please him. And the way I was taught is you respect your elders, so sometimes I would just let him make a fool of himself, and that's what I did. But anyway, I met him, and he came on to my show to talk about Discus. And the first show was a success. I'm not going to lie, it drew a lot of views. So I was happy about that. But the next time I had him on my podcast, he was mentioning some stuff about Discus that I began to question. Like, Discus can be kept with tank mates that are questionable. I don't remember what tank mates he mentioned, but I think it was crib cichlids and African cichlids or something. I don't remember exactly. So I didn't say anything because I didn't want to look like a rude host that was trying to offend or insult a guest. And I let that slide. So that should have been another red flag. But then we began a working relationship where he came on my YouTube and I would go on his YouTube. He would be on my podcast, and then I would go on his podcast. It lasted for quite a long time. And in that time, we had issues because I wanted to do something a certain way, and he wanted to do something his own way. And we really could never meet in the middle. I have to say that William is definitely a person that is very hard to compromise with. And that made it difficult to work together because it caused a lot of problems. And a lot of my co hosts and other guests can attest to this. There have been times where I was just like, fuck it, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I thought about quitting podcasting and going a separate way. But he had a way of manipulating me into doing what he wanted. And that's how I ended up getting those podcasts done. But oftentimes we would have verbal spats on social media and fights. And it was because um, he was spewing out misinformation on different species of fish. And he was like reading information from Google. Now, I will admit that I do that sometimes on species that I don't know about. And if I don't know about that species, I try not to talk about them unless I'm asked to. Anyways, there was this one particular fight that he caused on back in the day. It was Google Plus. He had made a post that was aimed towards me about me keeping monster growing fish in too small of an environment or something. And it was like literally out of nowhere because I thought we were getting along. And you know, as teenagers, when someone upsets you, the first thing you want to do is attack. And that's exactly what I did. I rebutted, and there were some insults thrown in. Basically, a big fight that dragged on and on and on, and it really was bad. He was literally the only person that pushed me to that point. So it got to the point where I ended up doing a podcast episode that was like a promo on him. I was literally insane that day. I called him all kinds of names and told him to stay away from me. If he ever came back towards my podcast, I would hurt him, all that stuff. So he stayed away for months, and then he contacted me apologizing. It was a vicious cycle that continued. So that is how Discus cichlids drove me insane. Good old William T is responsible for that. So anytime I go into the local fish store now, God damn it, I see a tank of Discus, and that's the first person that comes to mind. I'm like, oh my God, imagine if William T was still talking to me. That's all I'd hear about is Discus cichlids. And he would throw around that he was going to breed Discus and sell them. But 9 times out of 10, the Discus would die in his care. And I would just laugh, and he would get upset at me. So, but the last I talked to him, we were on friendly terms. Then all of a sudden, I haven't heard from him in a long time. So I'm assuming he's living somewhere and he doesn't want to be bothered, or he doesn't want to deal with me anymore, which is totally fine. I haven't had any issues now, and I'm perfectly content where I am now, succeeding on YouTube. I've got awesome podcast, and I'm enjoying the aquarium hobby. I will say people come in your life for various reasons, and maybe William T was there to teach me how to handle combative people and maybe get me to mature a little bit. Now I don't get as angry with people. I certainly will never throw a rant filled video unless I really have to. And it's just a learning experience. So I thought I would do a quick little segment on that because a lot of people have been asking me. I had a guy the other day say that I'm going to be celebrating my 8-year YouTube anniversary, and I've made no mentions about William T. Well, the fact of the matter is, I have no idea where he is, and I have no way of contacting him. But I'll certainly give him some credit when the time is right. All right, we have a comment that I'm going to go over. He says, how about his nickname he gave you and how you guys messed up the title of your show from Fish Tales to Fish Trials? Yes, that's a good example. I'm glad you brought that up. He would give me weird nicknames like CIA, and I know it was kind of stupid. I think CIA stood for Crazy Italian American, and I don't know what that was about. I mean, I kind of liked it at the time, but I don't want to assault Italian Americans and say that all of them are crazy or whatever. And then he would tell me to change the names of my podcast to stupid things like Fish Trials. Now, if I had a first time listener tuning into a fish keeping podcast with the name Fish Trials, what is that person going to think? He's going to think that we're doing trial and error on many different types of species. And he's going to be like, what the fuck are these guys doing? Talking about fish species that they don't know nothing about. So I put a brief end to Fish Trials because that was the first thing that came to mind was people are going to react negatively to that topic or that series title. So there's a whole plethora of things that I could talk about. And really, it'd probably be like a 2 to 4 hour show. I could do like a whole list of things, but I don't like to slander anybody or drag their name in the mud. But I just figured I'll be honest and I'll be open on this episode of Story Time with Aqua Alex Cardinale. All right, let's move on, shall we? The next two stories I have are about my type of fish, monster fish. And the next story is about a tiger shovelnose catfish, one of my many personal favorite monster growing catfish species. So, as you guys know, I've kept tiger shovelnose for many years, and I had not known that my neighbor next door was also an aquarium hobbyist, and he too was also into monster fish. So he had told my dad he had a large catfish he no longer wanted, and he told my dad it was about 3 feet long. And my dad was not prepared for that, but because he was friends with the neighbor, he took him in. So the catfish ended up being a 3 foot long tiger shovel nose, and the biggest aquarium we had was the 150. So we ended up putting him in the 150 temporarily until we would find somebody that would have a better home. And we ended up bringing it to a fish store, and they took it off our hands. So that night we were sleeping, and we heard a loud bang, and then we heard like water splashes, and we heard something that sounded like a growl or clicking noise. So I came upon the scene first, and I saw the 3 foot tiger shovel nose on the ground. I saw my dad's aquarium lid busted with glass everywhere, and I saw the tiger shovel nose like squeaking his pectoral fins, and that was making the noise. That sounded like a growl, but as you know, catfish have spines that can click, especially South American Pimadella catfish. So I, at the time, did not know what to do. So I grabbed like one of my dad's large fishing nets, and I picked up the tiger shovelnose, and in an attempt to put him back in the aquarium, that pectoral fin got caught in the net, so it caused more problems than good. My dad ended up having to go get a kitchen knife and cut the net to let the tiger shovelnose out. And we had to move the tiger shovelnose the next day with a towel. So now, if I ever have monster fish like that again and they jump out, I know that I'll use a towel or a pillowcase or something like that. But that was a pretty crazy thing to walk into. You would never think that a fish would have that much power, but they do. These monster fish weigh several pounds, and they can easily break things if they get startled. I'm not sure what startled the tiger shovelnose. Maybe he was going after one of the smaller fish in the aquarium to try to eat them, and that fish darted at the last second, and the tiger shovelnose jumped out of the aquarium on accident. If you guys ever seen a tiger shovelnose go after prey, they go head first after them. So I'm thinking the force of the shovelnose with all the weight on it is what broke the glass lid and led it to flying out of the aquarium. I'm surprised the fish did not have any internal injuries or was injured or possibly died. It's a miracle, I think. But this just goes to show that, unfortunately, as much as I love the tiger shovelnose, when they get past a foot and a half to 2 feet, they really belong in a pond. So I hope that catfish got bought by somebody that had a pond. When we brought it to the fish store, it went to their 280, and then I don't know how long it was there before it got sold. But let this be a lesson to anybody that is thinking about getting a tiger shovelnose. They can destroy your aquarium, and they can injure themselves in doing so. All right, before we get to my final story, which happened yesterday, let's read another comment that we have. Steve says he loves those stories about my old podcast days and some of the fights that I've had. Honestly, I've kind of forgotten about a lot of them. So I think I am going to talk about them on my 8-year YouTube anniversary. So, Steve, if you could kindly email some of the things you remember so that it can refresh my memory so that I could talk about them, that would be great. I would really appreciate that. So it'll be something fun to talk about. Well, something not really fun because it could offend people, but it will be something to talk about on my 8-year YouTube anniversary, and it will cause people to tune in. All right, so my last topic for tonight is a story that I did not plan to mention tonight. There's originally only going to be 5 stories, but tonight we've got one more, and this happened yesterday, and it involves one of my personal favorite fish, the gold wolffish. That's right, folks. This story involves my gold wolffish. So, as you guys know, I got my gold and my black wolffish from Steve at exoticfishshop.net. And I also got a baby peacock bass, which is about 3 to 4 inches. He was a Zingu Azul hybrid peacock bass. Anyway, that poor peacock bass had a tough time in my aquarium because he was being pestered by my Temensis peacock bass and my larger Orono Meta peacock bass. So I'm not sure how it happened, but I'm pretty sure the Temensis was fin nipping him and causing stress, and it went near the gold wolffish's plant, and the gold wolffish attacked. He attacked him really hard. He bit the peacock bass so hard that it mortally wounded him. I saw it happen, and I was disgusted. When he let go of the peacock bass, half his body had fallen to the ground and was quickly devoured by the vulture cat. So that was pretty disgusting. But that shows what happens in the wild with these predatory fish. If they're showing signs that they're being attacked or they're weakened or they're stressed, fish like wolffish and piranhas will attack and take that fish out of his misery. And then you've got vultures, which they're named after, the vulture cat, come along to eat the scraps. So that was kind of a horrific scene. And believe it or not, after having his tail and half his body bitten off, he was trying to swim and he was still alive. But I'm pretty sure he would have died by nighttime. So I did the right thing and I took him out of his misery, sadly, because he was one of my favorite peacock bass. So hopefully I can find another of that hybrid because it was very beautiful. You've got the azul, which is a very beautiful blue peacock bass, and then you've got the zingu, which is a gold coloration. So imagine how that hybrid peacock bass is going to grow up and look. It would have been a beautiful fish, but because it got bullied by the other two pea bass, and then you've got the gold wolffish, it had a shortened life, sadly. So now I'm very cautious, and I have my eyes glued to my aquarium at all times, just in case the gold wolffish decides, I'm going to kill again. He'll then have to be moved into a 40 breeder. But I think this may be a one-time situation. I think maybe it was he sensed fear in that peacock bass and acted on his instincts. Because in the wild, piranhas do the same exact thing, and wolffish will attack dying things in the wild as well. All right, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Story Time with Aqua Alex Cardinale. I had a great time sharing some of these stories with you. My friend Steve says, everyone out there watching and listening, please do yourself a favor and listen to Alex's old podcast for some great enjoyment about fish and the life of Alex the Fish Keeper. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that. You've been a loyal subscriber and audience member of mine for so many years, and there's really no way that I could repay you for that loyalty, and other than saying that I appreciate you and I love you. So if anyone is interested, you can check out my old podcast, Aquatic Wetline. Just do a Google search for Aquatic Wetline, and you'll see all my fish keeping podcasts. There's also Aquarium Hobbyist Podcast. There's also Chef Cardinale Cooking Show. There's the Alex Cardinale Talk Show, the Alex Cardinale Network, ACE Network, and so many others. So if you want to see my podcast history, just do a quick Google research. But now I'm redefining myself right here on YouTube, changing up the game with YouTube podcast, and I'm really excited in doing so. All right, guys, I thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Don't miss the supersized Ask Aqua Alex Live on Saturday, February 19th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. I'm going to answer all your fish keeping questions. And before I end the video, I've got a promo that's going to explain what you can expect on this month's edition of Ask Aqua Alex Live. So fish keepers, because I cannot post on Facebook for 6 days, I ask you to promote this video for me. Copy and paste the URL of today's video on Facebook and your social media platforms so that we can get as many viewers as we can, and I gladly appreciate that. All right, tropical fish keepers, this has been a crossover event of Story Time with Alex Cardinale. I appreciate your view. Have a great rest of your day. Take care of those aquariums. Feed your tropical fish high-quality fish food and do water changes. Remember, quality fish food and quality water, and your fish are going to grow good and they're going to be very healthy. Aqua Alex saying until next time, enjoy the aquarium hobby, and I'll see you on the next episode of Aqua Alex Live. Hey everyone, it's your favorite man, legendary Alex Cardinale here. Love is in the air. Why is that? Well, Valentine's is right around the corner. I cordially invite you to be a part of the inaugural Valentine's 2022 Bash, hosted by me, the man you love, legendary Alex Cardinale. Come be a part of the inaugural Valentine's Day Bash live Saturday, February 12th, 2022 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Come celebrate Valentine's in style with me, legendary Alex Cardinale. I have a lot of fun action planned on Valentine's weekend with the Valentine's Bash. Chef Alex Cardinale is going to make an appearance on the Valentine's Bash. You can see Chef Alex Cardinale make a perfect Valentine's breakfast as he makes red velvet waffles with a delicious cream cheese icing that is going to make your mouth water. Really delicious. And I'll also make my homemade chocolate lava cakes. Chef Alex will appear on the Valentine's 2022 Bash, and you can only see Alex make the red velvet waffles with the cream cheese icing and the homemade chocolate lava cakes on Valentine's Bash on Saturday, February 12th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. Also planned for the Bash, I will discuss my ideal soulmate. I will discuss fun Valentine's Day activities that you and your partner can do on Valentine's Day and more. So this is going to be an awesome night for love and fun. Happy Valentine's, everybody. Join me live Saturday, February 12th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. Hey everyone, it's South American fish keeper and monster fish hobbyist, Aqua Alex Cardinale, inviting all the fish keepers to be a part of the supersized Ask Aqua Alex Live that is taking place Saturday, February 19th, 2022 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. That's right, the February 2022 Fish Keepers Q&A is going to be supersized. New segments are going to make their debut on the February edition of Fish Keepers Q&A and a lot more. I look forward to hosting the supersized Ask Aqua Alex Live on Saturday, February 19th. I look forward to answering any of your tropical fish keeping questions, whether they are freshwater or saltwater. Email your tropical fish keeping questions to AlexGoYankeesCardinale19 at gmail.com. You may also film a video asking your questions. You can ask me any freshwater or saltwater aquarium hobby questions that come to mind. Test my fish keeping knowledge. I really want to answer your questions. So I double dog dare you to ask me aquarium questions and tropical fish questions. On the February 2022 Fish Keepers Q&A, I've got some wonderful topics. I'm going to talk about the best online fish stores to support in 2022. I'm going to talk about some cool Asian oddball fish that I want to keep. For example, the datnoid above my head and the Asian leaffish. And I'm also going to talk about the best ditherfish in freshwater aquariums that can be kept with aggressive cichlids and other aggressive predatory fish. I'm going to continue to go over the Tangled Up in Cichlids stock list, but I'm going to be adding 2 more online fish stores. I'm going to go over the Tangled Up in Cichlids stock list, as well as aquatic rarities and exoticfishshop.net. So if you're looking for exotic South and Central American cichlids, oddballs, and rare fish, check out Tangled Up in Cichlids, aquatic rarities, and exoticfishshop.net. And now the most exciting part of the supersized Ask Aqua Alex Live. I am debuting new segments on my monthly Fish Keepers Q&A. The first segment I am debuting is called Aqua Alex Reacts. And I, Aqua Alex, will react to various aquarium-related social media posts, including Craigslist ads and Facebook group posts. Which aquarium hobbyist is asking the most ridiculous price for a used aquarium? Which aquarium hobbyist is making a fool of himself on social media? Well, we'll find out on the supersized Ask Aqua Alex Live on February 19th. Another new segment that is going to make its debut on the supersized Ask Aqua Alex Live is the Viewer Aquarium Show-Off. This is your opportunity to showcase your freshwater or saltwater or even aquatic turtle or axolotl aquariums. All you got to do to show off your aquariums is submit videos or photos of your aquarium to AlexGoYankeesCardinale19 at gmail.com. I want to spotlight your beautiful fish and your beautiful aquarium every month, and it begins in February. So send your videos and photos of your aquarium right now. And the last new segment that's making its debut on the supersized Ask Aqua Alex Live is Aquarium Facts. I will give out 3 to 4 aquarium facts every month. So don't miss a minute of the action. Supersized Ask Aqua Alex Live airs Saturday, February 19th, 2022 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on the legendary Alex Cardinale YouTube channel. So fish keepers, be there or be square and get those fish keeping questions in now, as well as those videos of your aquarium and photos of your aquarium fish as well. Hey everyone, it's me, legendary Alex Cardinale, inviting you to be a part of the biggest party of the year. Literally, this is the biggest party I will ever throw. It is the biggest celebration I will ever host. I am proud to announce on Sunday, March 6, 2022, I will officially celebrate my 8th year as a YouTuber. In 2014, I started my YouTube channel as a platform to promote my fish keeping podcast. Fast forward 8 years later, over 16,000 subscribers. My YouTube channel is succeeding. Not only do I do fish keeping videos, but I also do cooking videos, crime videos, professional wrestling videos, and more. My YouTube channel is now my podcast channel. So, we are going to celebrate 8 years of hard work in style. and I cordially invite you to be a part of my 8-year YouTube anniversary, airing exclusively on YouTube Sunday, March 6th, 2022, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Here is the lineup for the biggest party of the year. 2 of my lucky subscribers will win a $80 Texas Roadhouse gift card. All you need to do is be an active subscriber. That means you watch my videos, you like my videos, and you comment on my videos. 8 of my active subscribers will be put in a drawing, and 2 of those 8 subscribers will be chosen live on the 8-year YouTube anniversary and will be announced as the winners of the 8-year YouTube anniversary giveaway, and they will win an $80 Texas Roadhouse gift card. And when I say legendary, I mean legendary. There are going to be some legendary special guests. The first legendary guest is the owner and founder of Aquatic Rarities, aka Malone's Monsters, Bob. Bob will be our first fish keeping guest on the 8-year YouTube anniversary. The interview will be filmed on location from his fish store in Boca Raton, Florida. The second guest is a longtime friend of mine, one of my very first fish keeping guys that I interviewed on my Aquatic Wetline podcast. My second guest is Blue View Aquatics owner Josh Rodriguez from Western Massachusetts. Josh is doing a great job promoting the aquarium hobby in New England, and I'm proud to have him on such a huge accomplishment of mine, considering that he was instrumental in making Aquatic Wetline a huge success a number of years ago, and now it is my honor to have him on my YouTube channel for the first time. My third guest is a legendary guest. He is the founder of the hit series Dinners, Drive-Ins, and Dives on Food Network. The third guest is Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives founder David Page. David will talk to us about American food, the creation of diners, drive-ins, and dives, and a whole lot more cooking and baking and food talk. My final guest will be a professional wrestling museum owner and WWE fan, Mike Parker. Mike will talk to us about what it's like to own a wrestling museum and how long he's been a professional wrestling fan for. Those are our legendary guests. But if I'm going to do a legendary celebration, there has to be a legend in the house, and there has to be a Hall of Famer in the house. I am really proud to announce the first time, not only in my YouTube career, but also in my podcasting career, that I'm going to have a celebrity on my video stream. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce there will be an appearance by the hardcore legend and WWE Hall of Famer, Mick Foley. Mick Foley will appear live on my 8-year YouTube anniversary. You can also expect appearances from Chef Alex Cardinale, Aqua Alex Cardinale, WWE fanboy Alex Cardinale, and Detective Alex Cardinale. Chef Alex will cook a prime rib and bake a delicious Twix cheesecake and a Reese's peanut butter cake. Aqua Alex will discuss all the tropical fish species he's kept over the last 8 years and more. WWE fanboy Alex Cardinale discusses his dream WrestleMania 38 card and some awesome surprises. What will Detective Alex Cardinale do on the 8-year YouTube anniversary? What surprises will there be on the biggest party of the year? Literally the biggest live stream of 2022. You got to tune in to find out. Sunday, March 6, 2022, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, exclusively only on YouTube. So tune in Sunday, March 6, 2022 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on YouTube. It will only air right here on YouTube. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale, right now so you don't miss a minute of the action on the biggest party of the year, Sunday, March 6th.